I've seen people, and I hear people all the time, how they dive into it, and after a day or two, they have very bad reaction, kind of like, this is bad, this is horrible, I'm slower, so on and so forth. In most cases, I think it takes time until you get used to any tool.
This is DevOps Paradox, episode number 311, Harnessing AI for Accelerated Project Development. Welcome to DevOps Paradox. This is a podcast about random stuff in which we, Darin and Viktor, pretend we know what we're talking about. Most of the time, we mask our ignorance by putting the word DevOps everywhere we can and mix it with random buzzwords like Kubernetes, serverless, CI/CD, team productivity, islands of happiness, and other fancy expressions that make us sound like we know what we're doing. Occasionally, we invite guests who do know something, but we do not do that often since they might make us look incompetent. The truth is out there, and there is no way we are going to find it. P.S. It's Darin reading this text and feeling embarrassed that Viktor made me do it. Here are your hosts, Darin Pope and Viktor Farsic. So back in 309, we were talking about at the end throwing away our work that we worked on for a month. But now, with AI, potentially that month can be squashed down to maybe a day or two. And how do we do that? I mean, Viktor's been using Claude Code, right? That is your preferred editor/agent, right? That's where you're at
Exactly.
today.
That's the one.
Okay, so that if that's the one, and we determined there are three pieces. There's the LLM, there's the agent, and then there's the MCP servers. You're using Claude Code as your agent. For your LLM, you're primarily using Sonnet 4?
Sonnet 4, sometimes Gemini, but then
Sometimes
I need to switch
Gemini.
the agent. Yeah.
Okay.
So Sonnet is slightly better, or better, let's say. Not that much better. But it has, I think, 100K or 200K context, while Gemini has 1 million. So it can work longer before it starts compacting the context and losing things from what was happening before. Pros and cons.
Instead of it being a shot glass, it's a 5-gallon bucket.
Yes.
You can get a lot more water into it. But then the third is MCP servers. Now, what is your... We're recording this on July 1st, 2025. Mm-hmm. So by the time you're listening to this in August of 2025, this stack has probably changed. Mm-hmm. But maybe not. What are the MCP servers you're using today, and what are the MCP servers that you think will stick around until they get replaced with something bigger, better?
The one I use always, no matter the project, no matter the combination, is Taskmaster. You basically tell it what you want. Hey, I want to work on this feature, or I want to fix this issue, or I want to, whatever it is. And it creates a PRD, very detailed document, and you review it, you might change it or keep it as is, depending on the results, and it breaks it into tasks and potentially subtasks. So that, without AI, it would take me a month. With AI, we're talking about days. Taskmaster breaks into, let me see, actually, I have it in front of me, 20 different tasks, and then there could be there are subtasks there. And the importance is that, so imagine this is my work, this is my PRD. Those are my tasks, those are my subtasks, right? And then you connect the agent to it, and you say, okay, which one should I work on? Oh, task number 3. Why? Because task number 3 depends on task number 2 and 1. Cool. Let's work on it, right? And you work on it, and it updates it later on. Okay, this is what we did, so on and so forth. So think of it as permanent memory of what is going on. A structured way to guide you through development and to record what you did. And I use it literally all the time. That's probably the only MCP without which there is no project I'm working on.
If people aren't familiar with Taskmaster, where can it be found? Because Claude Code you can find, but Taskmaster, you type in that phrase in Google and you'll find
I
thousands
bet
of things.
that's what you were doing while I was talking, right?
Trying to, yes.
Task-master.dev.
Task-master.dev. Right.
If you look at it, the web page kind of it screams, "This is for developers." Kind of like, I don't know if you see it in front of you. Kind of, Yes.
So my question is, PRD, product requirements document.
But I'm talking about PRD as in hundreds or thousands of lines of PRD. PRD that you never wrote in your life.
Stop. That's why I'm saying, okay, that's great, but what did you feed Taskmaster to get that thousands of lines that you never wrote in your life?
It went through what I want. We have a conversation. And it went through all the existing code. And it figured it all out. The same thing as what you would do probably, just never so detailed. Hey, I ask you, hey, we want this new feature for whatever project you're working on. Cool. You go through code, you figure out how it's working right now, you figure out how it should be working, you consult the internet, you do a bunch of things, and eventually you write it down. You're going to end up with 20 lines because everybody's lazy on those things, right? But the model is exactly the same.
So the thing you just said there, you didn't say it explicitly, but I want a new feature. I'm going to take a look at the existing code. So to me, that means this is great for not greenfield type projects.
For greenfield as well. Let's say we're starting a new project, right? Okay, come up with some idea. Anything.
I want a clone of eBay, and I don't want to spend more than $5 for it.
Cool. What is that clone of eBay going to have? It's going to have a database, it's going to have backend, it's going to have front end, it's going to have certain style, it's going to have a bunch of things, right? Mm-hmm. Clone of eBay, you came up with that idea. That's significant work, even for MVP. Let's say MVP, right? It's significant work. You need to write it all down. And that's what it will do for you. Not necessarily alone, right? It's a conversation. Oh, so which database should we use? Oh, Redis. I think Redis is cool. No, Redis. I think Redis is cool, but this is what I need. No, it should be better if you use MySQL, whatever the conversation is, right? And it will write it all down without existing code in this scenario. And it will create tasks, create front-end, create styles, create backend. Right, there is going to be probably 100 for eBay type of MVP, 100 different big tasks with small subtasks. Now, the challenge that it solves, rather than helping you create all those things, how are you going to develop all that knowing that context is limited? You're probably going to reach the limit of the context within the first task, or probably first subtask. Right? And then you can do it without Taskmaster. You can say, okay, we just finished this. Write it all in this file. And you're going to try to figure out how to structure it, and so on and so forth. But Taskmaster provides structured way to do all that. We're finished with this subtask. It knows that because of information MCP gives it. Okay, so I should update the subtask with what we did. And then I should mark it as done. Then when you're working on something else, it can consult that thing to understand why are we doing what we're doing, right? So think of it as ongoing design, very, very detailed ongoing design document. Because when you, as Darin, work on something, you can rely, maybe, if you're the only person working on it, you can rely on your memory and say, oh, I know what I did, right? Models don't have any memory, and agents have context that expires very, very quickly. I probably don't pass more than 15 minutes of work, maybe half an hour if I'm very lucky, without that started being compacted, and that means that the information is lost immediately.
You're just rambling off like you're following every word, or that I'm following every word that you're saying. I am.
You need to stop me, man.
No, it's okay. I was following it. So let's not say a clone of eBay. All right, I'm going to ask this because I haven't asked you this explicitly, so why not put it on tape? If we actually use tape. So recently I noticed a change of when your videos come out on Monday, in the Slack workspace, there's a new bot that now just says YouTube bot or something. I can't remember what it is. Did you go through this process and create that YouTube bot?
Yes, I created I have an application that I use for managing my videos, and I created a bot. When I say I created a bot, I mean I talked to Claude Code, which created a bot, yes. I haven't written a single line of code or executed a single command in close to half a year. When I say I haven't written the command, I mean literally, kind of set space blah equals blah.
You set up the API keys to get all these things working, and that's about it.
No, I always review absolutely everything. I never let it save anything without me reviewing it. But I'm getting better at telling it what to do, and as a result of me getting better, and I also start to understand what works better, what works worse. So my reviews are faster and faster, right?
And since you're telling it better, does that mean it's giving you better output?
Oh, definitely, 100%. And I'm also better at choosing. So one of my favorite, let's call it a language, scripting language, is Nushell. I'm not using Nushell anymore because simply models don't understand it well. Now with the way I'm working, I'm going back to Shell, which I think is horrible compared to Nushell, but it works from the first attempt. I'm faster writing Nushell and more accurate writing Nushell than Shell by a big margin. But agents plus LLMs are actually faster and more accurate writing Shell. And I care less and less. You're going to go bazooka now when I tell you in which language do you know which language I'm using for the project I'm working on right now?
I haven't looked.
TypeScript. And you know my opinion about TypeScript.
Yeah, I do know. At least it's type safe. But beyond that, I can't say anything else nice about it. But that's what you're using because that's what it's happy generating.
It's not the only thing that it's happy generating, but it happens to be a good choice for what I'm working on. Let's say that it would be one of the 3 good choices for what I'm working on. And why not?
Okay, fair enough. So what I'm hearing, we've got Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to get back into what your current MCP list is. So you got Taskmaster. What else do you have?
Look at the link that I just sent you.
Why would you want me to do that? Because people can't see the link that they're sending me?
They cannot, but you can cut it later. Look, just take a quick look at the file that I just sent you that is the project I'm working on.
Okay.
Just to have an understanding of how useful Taskmaster is.
Okay. So first off, you can't see this because it's off on my other screen. I see that the handle to slide down the page is so small I can barely touch it. This thing is, it's not that big. It's 1,743 lines. So are you telling me you defined all of these things? Oh, these are the tasks that you just sent me for Taskmaster.
Yeah, those are the tasks.
Okay.
Subtasks. Some are done, some are pending, one is in progress. Yeah. But just to get a scope of everything that needs to be done without losing sight of what is done, right? You cannot start from scratch.
Right. So you were saying that everybody needs to, well, you said this, you don't allow things to go without your review. Does that count for everything that Taskmaster generated for you? I'm rewinding just a little bit.
No, because I talked with the agent about it. Once we agree, that's what we want to do, then it instructs Taskmaster to store it. Now, Taskmaster does not store it as is, just to be clear, because actually Taskmaster is a very strange type of MCP because it's MCP and an agent at the same time. So Taskmaster itself is connected to Anthropic in my case, to Sonnet model. So it will take what my agent, Claude Code, sends to it. It will process it with another model, so it will not be exactly the same text, but it will be close enough, conceptually.
Okay. So let me go ahead and forward back in now. What are the other, so you're using Taskmaster. Is there any other MCP servers that you're using?
I use heavily memory MCP. Every agent, let's say Claude Code. Claude Code has Claude.md, where you can fill it in with everything that matters and should be loaded when the new session starts, right? Oh, I want to always do TDD. This is my code structure and so on and so forth, right? So think of it as initial memory that is loaded when the new session starts. Now, memory, MCP, is something similar, but it is agnostic to an agent. And then if I switch from Claude Code to Cursor, I don't have to now transform Claude Code special Claude.md file to whatever Cursor uses for its initial context. I can just say, hey, connect to that MCP. And when I start a session, my first instruction is fetch memory from this MCP, right? And just loads all the context. And it's a growing thing. It's alive, right? So, for example, if I see that, hey, you started writing implementation without writing code first, without writing tests first, I would stop it and say, you know what? Memorize that in this project, we practice TDD. Test first, make it fail, do the implementation, confirm that it succeeds, right? And then I increase my memory, initial memory, for a bit. And then I find something else that it does that I don't like. Hey, I started writing, I just started using this framework for testing. Right? No. Stop there, right? Kind of, I prefer my test to be written in this format or with this framework. So I'm just keep feeding that memory with instructions because I'm not capable to come up with all the rules that I needed to follow from the start. Nobody is. If I would ask you, hey, what are give me 1,000 different rules that you think are important for this specific project, you will not come up with them, right? But over time, you just keep memorizing more and more.
So while you were talking there, I was completely ignoring you, so I'll listen back as I'm editing. But I was looking at the pricing for Claude Code. Sorry, I'm like squirreling everywhere here. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And hopefully people are listening are going to go like, okay, what should I do? So I'm looking at Claude Code, and the cheapest I see is basically $200 a year.
If you want a subscription, you can pay for tokens.
Oh, you can just pay for tokens. So you can install Claude Code and just pay for tokens.
Yes. If you were talking about this like months ago, I would say there is no way I'm going to pay $200 a month. Now, no doubt. If I would be paying it, which I'm not, I would go for 200 because I use it all the time, right? If you go with Cursor, $20 a month or something like that, right? First of all, after a while, it will start showing you messages slow requests because there is a limit to how many requests you can send, how many tokens you can use, and then you can continue using it, but it will be slower, which is still fast compared to humans, right? But slower. And then it is trying to save on tokens and so on and so forth. I feel that if you're going to be, let's say that you're going to be 2x faster with AI, with Cursor, right? Now, and that's useful to you. Would you pay $200 instead of 20 to be triple? And I'm not going now, crazy internet where people say 10x develop. Let's say double. If you would double your productivity, is that worth $200? And I'm talking about day-to-day productivity. And I'm not going crazy high saying 10x, 100x, all that nonsense. Just double.
So let me do the math, basic math. Let's assume we work 20 days a month.
Yes.
Right? That seems pretty reasonable. That would be $10 a day. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you how much money I make, but I make more than $10 an hour. Exactly. A lunch is maybe $10. If I drank coffee, it would be 2 coffees. Actually, I don't know how much coffee costs anymore. It'd be 3 sodas. Let's put it that way. It'd be three energy drinks. So 200 feels bad, but when I break it down to, okay, if I'm going to use it every day of those 20 days, is it worth $10 a day? And the answer is easily yes.
Let's be extremely pessimistic. Let's say that you are a company. And I tell you, and this is more pessimistic than anybody in the world right now. And I tell you, hey, your people can save a day. Not be twice as fast. Just save a day a month. It's still worth it. For a company.
Well, for the company, yes.
Yeah. Or let's make it 2 days just to make it more interesting.
2 days would make the math work.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That would be
2
near
days.
break even.
So that's 10% increase in productivity. 10% only.
But I have to learn how to use the tool. And
yes.
That's the key part, right? And that's going to be the problem. That's what I'm going to have to deal with, right? Me, Darin, trying to figure this out.
That's the biggest challenge. I've seen people, and I hear people all the time, how, they dive into it, and after a day or two, they have very bad reaction, kind of like, this is bad, this is horrible, I'm slower, so on and so forth. In most cases, I think it takes time until you get used to any tool. Eclipse, VS Code, this language, that language, right? It takes time until you're productive. Right? And you continue being more productive as the time passes. Not necessarily first month you get bigger increase in productivity than a month after a year, but you get more and more productive over time. So you need to stick with it. Let's say that you start with it today and you say, after a day, this is not working for me. Give it at least a month.
How long did it take you to get used to Claude Code? That tool specifically?
So I had a special use case for Claude Code when I started using it, and that was operations, not writing code. And to me, using for operations, which I always perform from a terminal, using terminal-based agent sounds like ideal situation. Why would I go to cursor to the operations? Come on. So I got familiar with it, but then I dropped it whenever I had to write some code. And I kept hearing how good it is, and I know how good it is, but still, ID is ID. There are so many nice things over there. So it took me a while, but now I'm there fully.
And again, I'm jumping all around here. Going back to the project you've done now with that YouTube bot, it gave you TypeScript.
YouTube bot is Go, to be 100% transparent. The one I'm working on right now is TypeScript, yeah.
Is TypeScript, okay. So when you set that up, did you tell it the language you wanted, or did it offer you, it's like, hey, I could do it with that, but it'd actually be better if we did this for these 3 reasons?
We talked about it for like 10
we talked
minutes,
about
15.
it. Oh, wait,
about
stop.
it and made the decision to use TypeScript, exactly.
See, way back, we were saying, come on, we cannot humanize these AI things, and yet you just said we talked about it.
Yeah, because I explained what I want, I explained the idea, we went back and forth on a design and many other things, and among many other things, we landed on TypeScript.
Okay. If you feel good about yourself, but having a conversation with a machine.
Think of it this way, right? Would you agree that you're more proficient at reading different languages than writing?
Absolutely, hands down, yes.
And now I'm mostly reading.
So the language doesn't really matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Don't give me Perl.
Yeah.
And I'm still not jumping into Python. Not that there is anything wrong with it, but or PHP.
There is.
There is, but I'm trying to be nice. But I'm reviewing the changes it makes. And I can do that in almost any language. I mean, I think that I can code in almost any language, but the results wouldn't be so great most
importantly, not as fast, right?
Exactly. I don't know the syntax of that well of TypeScript. But just show me any TypeScript code, I will tell you what it does. Most of the time. And when I don't know what it does, there is the magic sentence. Can you explain this to me? Which I use all the time.
Is that the number one prompt you should always remember? Can you explain this to me?
Many of our conversations are like that. Hey, let's talk about this for a while, right? Back and forth, and we talk about the design for each task. And then it does something, and I understand immediately. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes we talk about it not only for me to understand, but also for it to understand what I really want. So conversation is always the key. It's the same thing what you do with colleagues. And going back to one of the previous sentences you had, I think in a previous episode, which I wanted to remember to get back to, you said it's non-deterministic, right?
Correct. Well, the model is non-deterministic.
Yeah. You know what else is not non-deterministic?
Humans.
Exactly. When people complain, this is bad, it's non-deterministic. Yes, so are you.
There's certain things that we'll always give the same answer to. Now, same answer doesn't mean correct answer. It may be correct, but it may not be. So we have all of the human problems without the, how can I say this politely, without all the human emotional issues. I guess. I'm trying to be polite. Man, okay. So let me rewind. I got to think about what my stack is going to be, because we're actually recording some more episodes tomorrow as we're recording this one. So I've got to figure out what is my homework for tonight. It sounds like my homework for tonight is to get Claude Code set up, because I have an idea. Because I looked at the. Well, no. Let me give you the reason why I think so for a moment. I've got this one problem I'm working on for work, and I'm still trying to get my head around what does this code really do. And based on what the Claude Code site has, it's like, explain this code to me, or explain, summarize this for me, the whole project. So it seems like that would be good, but it seems like I could also do that with VS Code and the other ones too. Or, excuse me, GitHub Copilot.
So GitHub Copilot, just don't.
Just don't.
Remove it from your vocabulary, unless something drastic changed the last couple of months. But I would probably, if you're starting, I would probably recommend Cursor rather than Claude Code. It'll give you more confidence, right? The way how it shows diffs. One of the nice things is that, hey, it will change one file and then second and third and fifth and fourth, right? You will see all those diffs there, and you can accept them at any moment. You can accept them once it finishes 5 changes to 5 files. With Claude Code I'm going to change this file now. Yes or no? This is just one of many examples, right? And you don't necessarily have confidence to proceed with the change because you don't know what is the next change after that, and so on and so forth, right? And there are many other things that Cursor just makes nice. So think of it like Vim versus VS Code.
Okay, and that seems fair. So it sounds like there's a place for both, depending on what I'm trying to do.
I do think that ultimately Claude Code today wins. Future, nobody knows. Things are changing so fast. But I'm not sure that it would be the best starting point. It's terminal. It's tough. Actually, one thing that I haven't said, it can work also within Cursor and within VS Code, but it's not good, really.
That would make sense. So I have homework. We were all over the place. We talked about memory. We talked about Taskmaster. Now, memory is, if you were to look up memory, it's going to be under Model Context Protocol under the servers. So the Model Context Protocol organization in GitHub.
Yes.
And then it's a server under.
I think.
Yeah. And that's where memory is.
There is a list of probably 100 servers or something like that.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah.
Are there any other besides Taskmaster and memory that people should consider from the outset?
Those are the two that I use all the time. On top of that, you have usual culprits. It really depends. You come up with, hey, I should notify my colleagues while I'm working on Slack. Cool. Slack MCP. I should open an issue in Jira. I'm very lucky that I don't work with Jira, but let's say that you do. And I will assume for a second that there is MCP. I don't know. Let's say that there is, right? Cool. You connect it to your Cursor, open a Jira ticket. With what we just discussed.
Right.
One of the nice things so I have, the YouTube application, the bot you mentioned, right? I have a backend and I'm working on a front end of that one. 2 separate projects. I don't like monorepos. And I have instructions in each of those that I'm working on a front end and there is something related to backend that needs to be done. And there is instruction, hey, use Taskmaster together with GitHub MCP to create a PRD for the backend project. Right? There we go. I have a GitHub issue with everything that backend needs to know to work on it. And then record in local Taskmaster, hey, we are on pause on this one because backend needs to finish whatever needs to be finished. And I'm done.
So you have a single Taskmaster that covers front end and back end?
No.
But each of those have their own? No, you don't. Okay.
I have 2 Taskmasters. I did extra work and did beyond what Taskmaster normally does. I'm connecting my Taskmaster to GitHub so that it uses GitHub issues instead of internal local PRDs as designed. And
Right.
I do some
Which is
crazy
what it
stuff.
sounded like what you said, but you didn't say it
Yes.
explicitly. So you're using GitHub Issues as your source of record or system of record
Yes.
for what, and then both taskmasters are looking at that issue or set of issues to do the work.
Yes, I have in memory instruction. Okay, whenever I say some synonym of any form that means get PRDs, that means that you should go to GitHub issue, to GitHub of your project, get all the issues with the PRD as a label. Let me choose which I want to work on, and when I choose, then convert that into local taskmaster PRD from which it will create tasks.
So much to learn. And here's the key point to all of this. All of this has happened to you in the past 4 months.
Closer to half a year, but yes.
Half year, 6 months, regardless. Did you think in your bingo cards for this year you would be doing as much AI as you're doing at this moment?
No, I mean, I knew that I've been playing with AI for year and a change, maybe 2 years on and off. I want to know what it is, and then I would try different projects and different services and never get really happy with it. So it's not that I was oblivious about it. I just did not feel that until half a year or so it was worth full commitment on my side. That's the major difference. And yeah, I've seen the progress over time. It's tremendous, right? This was inevitable, and I cannot even imagine where it's going to go from here. But I maybe wouldn't have predicted that it would become so useful so fast, but that was the direction.
Yep. And here we are. So what do you think? Are you at this point to where you're using AI in every day? Are you willing to spend $200 of your own money per month to save yourself hours, maybe days?
It can be $20.
It can be $20, but I'm saying 200 because...
If you use Gemini CLI, which is similar to Claude Code, just very early stages, you get a bunch of free credits. One also thing that you might want to consider, Darin, is Open Router. Open Router gives you access to almost all models. So you have one subscription, or I'm not sure whether it's subscription or pay for tokens, and then you can just switch from one to another, see what works for you.
Interesting. Open Router. I'll check that out.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to be doing this yourself? Who knows? Head over to the Slack workspace, look for episode number 311, and leave your comments there. We hope this episode was helpful to you. If you want to discuss it or ask a question, please reach out to us. Our contact information and a link to the Slack workspace are at devopsparadox.com/contact. If you subscribe through Apple Podcast, be sure to leave us a review there. That helps other people discover this podcast. Go sign up right now at devopsparadox.com to receive an email whenever we drop the latest episode. Thank you for listening to DevOps Paradox.